Hey everybody, welcome to Kent with Bent 112 or 11D2 as we like to say. We are here for Evil Kent, which is our ultimate Evil Dead franchise, Kent with Bent. We have one more movie to go through and then we will have gone through all of the thus far released Evil Dead movies. So now, before we get going, Nekamimi says pelagic tunicates are greater than sessile tunicates. I don't make the rules. That is in fact literally untrue. That
Sure.
So that version of the opening has been. How about this? It's supposed to have been the Kent with Bent season 2 opening music. I probably have been somewhat inconsistent because I have both it and the original music, but
From season 1.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, we're in
Was a good
season 2.
season.
Yeah, it was a good season. Yeah, so all right. Yes, we do have a new emoji. It is in fact a sessile, hardworking, God-fearing tunicate that is not pelagic in any way. Sails onto the bottom of the ocean like a normal tunicate. So some kind of weirdo swimming around like a pyrosome or something. Get out of here, pyrosome. Anyway, we last left off with Kent talking to us about how he doesn't like prosperity gospel televangelists, which, on the one hand, okay, that's fair. That's a reasonable stance to take. But on the other hand, coming from the guy who wants to start a 777 club in which 777 people give him $1 a day, it's a little rich.
Yeah, it's less than a cup of coffee, but barely.
Right. So, before we get going, I also want to say thank you to Ann Stevens, who sent me a new copy of the Klingon dictionary with a message that says, enjoy your gift. So thank you very much, Ann Stevens. My old version was getting that old book yellow page kind of deal going where the binding is starting to come loose a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how my edition was. And this new edition is not like that. It's got crisp white pages and a nice firm binding. So, yeah.
Nice.
So I want to say thank you very much. If anyone else would like to do anything with my wish list, both me and Bent have wish lists in the description. So there you go. All right.
Yep.
So we're not just here, though, to take a look at Kent Hovind. We also have a drinking rules, I should say. So, let's go over those real quick. First, if Kent Hovind says something that's just too stupid, we take a drink for it. Probably our most frequent one. Like half the time I pause him, it's going to be like, so I can take a drink. Yeah. If Kent Hovind says something that's factually accurate, and he's not just quoting someone else, he's not just reading someone else's words, it actually is an accurate fact that comes out of his brain and is conveyed to us, we take a drink for that. If Kent Hovind tells a joke that doesn't land or tells a story that doesn't happen, for instance, if he confuses, say, an argument that he won with his shampoo bottle with a conversation he had with a Berkeley professor on a plane, we take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink anytime Kent Hovind mentions the National Socialist German Workers' Party or various. Oh, there's Godzilla. So, one, we'll take a quick drink for any Godzillas that show up, or Mothras. There's our first drink of the night. Back to the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Yeah, if he mentions them or any of their more infamous activities, especially in the first half of the 20th century, or various important members of that party, we will take drinks for that because, my goodness, does he like to mention them for usually almost no reason. Let's see. We will also take drinks if we get a Trojan source. So, a Trojan source is when we look up a source, and not only does it fail to support the contention being made, but it actually directly contradicts it. Also, Soulcat for $5 says, FYI, there's a paper out today describing the first known case of parthenogenesis in crocodiles. Wow. I was unaware of that. That's... And now I'm wondering what sex determination system crocodilians use. I don't actually know off the top of my head.
Really?
So, yeah, no, I don't have all the facts about all the things right in my head.
I'm a little surprised.
Fair enough.
Just a little bit.
So okay, you said crocodiles. I'm just broadening to like I'm curious about like the broader implications for crocodilians as a whole. Like, what about like alligatoroids or caiman? Oh, those are in alligatoroid. Like gharials or false gharials or things like that. So let's see. We will also take a drink. Those are the basic ways in which Kent can make us take a drink, right? Except for Godzilla, because you already heard that's not really Kent. There's a few ways you guys can make us take drinks. Some of the easiest ones are that if you are a channel member and any super chat or milestone chat includes one of the kaiju emojis, of which we have 3, Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, take a drink for that. We will also take a drink anytime anyone super chats anything to the effect that AIG are a bag of dicks. Now you have to be a little creative with this, because if you just type AIG or a bag of dicks, well, YouTube's not going to let you send that. So you have to work around it. So there's also, if you buy gift memberships, then we will take a drink for each gifted membership up to about 30, in which case that'll just be a finish the drink, get a new drink. I'm not going to count out 30 individual drinks. So yeah. Which means if you want to buy 30 or more gifts memberships, do it early after I open up a beer, because I'm drinking beer today. My Unfinished Journey for $2 says AIG is a yellow yacht of young yogurters. I think that counts. We'll take a drink for that. There we go. There you go. We have another example. Okay. We will also take a drink if it's not clear what Ken Hovind's about to say, but either Bent or I can successfully predict it. And I think that covers all of the drink triggers. Have I forgotten any?
That's all of them.
All right. Once again, off the top of my head, not bad. I pride myself on having all of the rules memorized. So, all right. Kent had just finished telling us about televangelists and how they suck. So now we're going to hit play and see what else he's got for us.
But some people get this attitude that all suffering is because of sin, and that's just simply not true.
I agree.
Seem true.
That is not true. We'll take a drink for Kent getting something right.
Wow, he's off to a good start.
Job, finally, after these guys have been talking to him now for 35 chapters, it went on and on for 35, but in chapter 31...
Tyriana has just joined the channel as a new member at the tetrapod level. Everybody send either sessile tunicates or tetrapods to welcome Tyriana. Don't send pelagic tunicates. Those are the wrong option. No, okay.
Oh, whoops.
And B, Bent, you're doing it wrong.
My bad.
Tetrapods or
Let me try again.
sessile tunicates.
There we go.
Job's about had enough with his friends. He said, I would...
I think he did it again. See, my Unfinished Journey's got it right. Soulcat's got a half right. You guys are terrible at this. Strawberry Bane's got it like 2/3 right.
wish the Lord would answer me. Why did this happen to me? And as much tragedy as there is in this world, oftentimes you get to that point where you wonder, why did this happen to me? Why, God, why are you doing this? Like my wife and her back, the sacrum and tailbone, the vertebrae are crushed, or the disc is desiccated, and it's just excruciating pain constantly for 7.5 months now.
I'm just going to point out. Oh, there's Godzilla. Take a drink for Godzilla. Now. Oh, there's another one. Take a drink for Godzilla. Okay. So, I want to point out that Kent Hovind has never been accused by his wife at this time, Jo Hovind, of physical abuse. However, when she was flatly asked whether or not Kent had physically abused her, she opted to not say. It would have been very easy to say no. I'm not accusing Kent of anything. I'm just pointing out there that his wife certainly didn't deny that he had physically abused her. So, Snorfoot, who's been a member for 8 months, says, Spock told me that Picard said that Sarek thought that AIG was a big bag of downward-facing illogical conclusions. Yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that. Also, I gotta say, if Sarek thought something, then Picard knew about it. Because they did a mind meld.
Yes, they did.
So, That's one of those things that I would have liked to see come back a little bit in like season 3 of Picard. There's like a little bit of Sarek mind meld, because for a few seasons like that was a big deal. But then it's just like, nah, we just kind of forgot about that in favor of the whole like Borg plotline. Oh, okay, I guess.
Can't sit, can't lay down. It's just like, God, why? Well, you don't always have to know. You don't have to always know why things happen. Job said, why did this happen? Lord, what are you doing? Would you please answer me? Of course, Job did not know about Romans 8:28. It hadn't been written yet, but it was coming. The Bible says we know.
Okay, you know what? We'll take a drink. That's true. When the story of Job is set, Romans 8 had not been written.
Correct.
I don't know what this has to do with the flood, because allegedly this is supposed to be about like dinosaurs on the ark. Like that's what Kent said at the beginning of this. It's like, we're going to talk about dinosaurs on the ark, and now it's like, okay, so Job. Yeah. Apparently, dinosaurs on the ark have a lot to do with Job. Also, please do hit like. I am seeing that some 40 people here have not hit like, and I really do appreciate it when people hit like. It helps a lot.
That all things work together for good, to them that love God, to them that are the called according to His purpose. Now, this is one of those conditional promises in God's Word. Some promises are unconditional. Other promises are conditional. I did that with my kids. You're my son, so I'm going to love you unconditionally.
But I'm only going to give all of you one medium soda from McDonald's, and then I'm going to throw that away when you can't figure out how to share it. That's the version of Kent's love. Let's remind ourselves.
Not love.
No.
That's horrible.
This is also the man who bragged about beating his kid into submission so his kid was too terrified to squirm at the dentist chair. So when Kent says, I'm going to love my kids unconditionally, apparently what that means is I'm going to just continually emotionally and physically abuse my kids. Which isn't what I would call love. Maybe he has warm, fuzzy feelings about them. That might be. But actions speak louder than words. As far as I can tell, Kent Hovind hates his kids.
He does act like that, yeah.
Yeah.
However, if you clean up your room and, make your bed and take out the garbage and do this, then I will take you to Dairy Queen and get an ice cream. That's a conditional promise. I will do something if you will do something. Romans 8:28 is one of those conditional promises that says everything that happens to you will work together for good. If you love God, it's only to those who love God and to them who are the called according to His purpose.
I feel like the history of just people believing in God and then having horrible, horrible things happen to them throughout their entire lives seems to indicate that this can't just be a flat-out, hey, if you really love God, then bad things won't happen promise. Like, there's got to be more to this than that. So, yeah, I don't know.
It just means, like, in the end, when you're super old, I guess? I don't know. Or in the afterlife.
The afterlife is convenient, I guess.
That would be convenient.
Yeah. Because then it becomes nicely unfalsifiable at that point.
Now, the verse does not say everything that happens is good. It says it'll work together for good. And the illustration I use is, have you ever been hungry? Anybody here ever been hungry before? Suppose you come to my house, you knock on the door. Brother Hovind, I'm hungry. A teenager, he's hungry all the time, right? Say, Brother Hovind, I'm hungry. I said, man, come on in. I'm going to fix you up. Boy, just open your mouth here. I got a cup of flour. Eat that. He said, a cup of flour? That wouldn't taste too good, would it?
Here's what you do with a cup of flour. Put it in some water, boil it. Now you've got gruel.
Yeah.
Mmm.
Well, how about a teaspoon of salt? You want a teaspoon of salt? Would that taste good?
I'll add it to the gruel.
Even better.
No. How about baking soda? Let's pour that down your throat. See how that tastes.
I don't want to add that to my gruel. That's not going to help.
No. Well, how about a half a cup of Crisco? Anybody like to drink a half a cup of Crisco?
I might add that to my gruel. I would rather add butter, but, I'll take what I can get.
How about a cup of buttermilk?
Also, yes, I will also add that to my gruel.
Some people drink that stuff. I just can't bring myself to drink it.
It's just slightly more acidic than normal milk. It's not that bad.
How about let's mix them all together and make biscuits?
I mean, sure, if you're going to take away my gruel, Ken, you dick. I was making a nice cup of gruel.
I'll eat the biscuits.
Right. You eat the biscuits, I'll eat the gruel.
No, I'm not eating biscuits that Kent cooked.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. But here's the other thing: he doesn't cook, right? Like if you go to Dinosaur Adventureland, that's for the women folk.
Oh,
And also, when it comes to Kent's hospitality, remember, it's been reported that he's been using unfiltered well water in bottles, used water bottles, like used disposable bottles, like like Aquafina bottles,
it seems like a bad idea.
to hand out to the people that he has working in the Alabama swamp summer on his buildings that could not pass inspection because he doesn't know a damn thing about either construction or building codes, and yet he's the foreman on all those jobs.
All of that sounds bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. And Dr. Tapioca Weasel says biscuits are just baked gruel. I mean, yeah, basically. I mean, ultimately, gruel. So what gruel is just wheat porridge, right? So gruel is to wheat as like oatmeal porridge is to oatmeal, and in fact, cream of wheat. If you ever had cream of wheat, that's just gruel. They don't call it that because it has a bad reputation. But if you've ever eaten cream of wheat, then you have eaten gruel. So, yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I like gruel. Well, it has to be flavored a bit. If it's just like boiled wheat, then not great.
Oh, well, now we're talking. See, the individual ingredients taste lousy, but they work together for good. If you read through just about any cake mixture or recipe or something, you'll find out the individual ingredients would not taste very good, but they will work together for good.
I don't much like cake, but that's okay.
And that
also, one of the individual ingredients in cake is just sugar. Sugar actually does taste pretty good on its own. Not great, but like, not bad.
That's what God promised. He promised all things.
You've never eaten sugar on its own?
I don't do that. It's not a habit I have.
No, it's not a habit I think most people have, but I think you recognize it. Like, if you took a pinch of sugar and put it on your tongue or something, you'd be like, this isn't gross. Sweet. Yeah, it's fine. It's okay.
Things will work together for good if you love God. Sometimes bad things happen, at least it seems for the moment that it's bad, and you say, God, I'm trying to serve you, I'm trying to do what's right, why did you let this happen? But as you go along through life longer and longer, you realize, wow, that was really good.
Yeah, I'm sure all those people who had things like, we'll just take a random example from, say, a random country. I'll just pick, like, say, Egypt. Like, what about that guy who, like, say, had his church firebombed, had his daughter kidnapped, assaulted in certain ways, and then forcibly converted to a different religion? Yeah, that all worked out for the best in that...
Oops.
Yeah, I got nothing. I'm just going to take a drink. It's okay, though. That guy was a cop, and obviously only Baptists count as real Christians.
I remember we tried awful hard to borrow the money to buy a brand new trailer when we first got married. We wanted to get a brand new mobile home. And it just didn't work out. And I said, God, why didn't you let this work out? Well, of course, I found out if we had bought that brand new mobile home, then 5 years later we would have lost, $10,000 when we went to sell it. It depreciates like a car.
Yeah?
So instead, God just shut the door. We were trying to serve God, and we just thought like doors are being shut. Oh, God, why would you do this?
I have no idea why those things depreciate. It's supposed to be like, oh, okay, I guess it all worked out. Would it still have been useful for you to have the trailer? Apparently, otherwise you wouldn't have been trying. What?
It's a weird mentality he's taking with that.
Strawberry Vein says, who's been a member for 1 month, is at the ambient level, says, Kent's seamless subject changes are as smooth as the gradient of hominin transitional fossils. Ooh, that's pretty darn smooth. It's definitely smoother than I can get my face when I shave it.
Don't you love us? Don't you want us to have this? And he's trying to say from heaven, no, I don't want you to have that. I got something else better for you.
Like what, Kent? What did you get that was better? You just didn't have the money, and then later on you were like, well, I guess it would have depreciated anyway. That's just you rationalizing why it wasn't so bad.
That is really weird.
I'm just taking another drink for like, hey, there's a silver lining to me failing to get a mobile home. I guess that means that God worked it out for me. Oh, no, I don't think that's what that has to mean, but okay, maybe. Silver linings exist, therefore God is it's a new
Therefore
one.
God.
I will say that is a new argument for me. I've never heard that one before. Yeah.
And so you just got to keep serving God. Sometimes it takes a while to see the crop come in. You know, you plant the seeds and you stand there and watch the dirt for a while and you'll get discouraged. Plant the seeds and then get busy and go do something else and the crop will come in. Okay? You just keep doing what's right. Oh, it's hard though to keep your heart right with God because the Bible says the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked.
Yeah, as Vishanti points out, that's just cope. Yeah. Can't be like, but they depreciate. That's just pure cope.
Yeah.
Jeremiah 17:9. So finally in Job chapter 38. Now let's get the picture here. This is
Does the RV count as true or stupid or double points for both? I think it's mostly just stupid.
taking place about a few hundred years after the flood, probably, sometime in this time frame. Job has been sitting there listening to his friends, arguing with his friends for 35 chapters, probably for several days. Now, the way they did it back then was very different than the way we do it here in America today. We always interrupt each other. Somebody will make a statement, and then somebody else says no, and they stop right in the middle of the sentence and interrupt. What they did here in the book of Job, one of the guys like Bildad or Eliphaz or Zophar, they'll talk for 2 or 3 chapters.
That doesn't strike you as that meaning that this is probably not a literal recording of an actual conversation? That this is probably like, a literary device?
Everyone had their speech to give.
Yeah.
Like in a play.
Outside of America modern day, people don't normally just stand around giving paragraph formatted speeches to their buddies about their suffering. Like, that's just not a normal thing that people do. It's on its own an indication this is probably not a literal recounting of an actual history. And the fact that Kent is like, oh, apparently, back in the day, that's just how they talked. They talked in paragraphs. That's just normal. And no, it wasn't, Kent. Let's take another turn. This is the weird stuff that apparently thinking overly literally about the Bible makes you think that, like, apparently people in the past just talked in paragraphs normally. They didn't. People in the past were not significantly different than people now.
Everybody sits there quietly and listens while the guy talks on and on and on. Then when it's the next guy's turn, he gives his response. I went through my Bible and added up how many verses each of those guys spoke.
Weird activity, but okay.
And I've got the total in one of my old Bibles. It's falling apart now, but it was interesting to see. Job spoke quite a bit in there.
I mean, it is the book. It is the guy who the book's named after. So, yeah.
And Eliphaz and Bildad and Zophar, and later on Elihu, the last guy, the fourth guy.
Okay, we got a couple of super chats. Aaron Wilson says, "Hurt my hand this week, so I'm off and drinking with you for the first time. P.S. AIG is nothing if not loosely packaged hot dogs." Nice, we'll take a drink. Well, I'm sorry about your hand, but I'm glad that you're here live. So, you know what? That's a silver lining. That means that God hurt your hand to work everything out for good so that you could be here to drink with us. So you should probably be thankful, because otherwise something else would have happened that also probably would have had a silver lining that you could also have praised God for, which kind of makes the whole thing a little unfalsifiable and untestable. But that's okay, it doesn't matter. Savage Cobra official per se for $2 says, the extremely Chinese name Eliphaz. Yeah, that's another thing I forgot. Last week we heard that Kent thinks that the Book of Job is set in China because it says in the East, even though all these names are extremely Semitic names, and the people who came and killed Job's cattle were Chaldeans, a group of people who lived in Mesopotamia, which is, I don't know if you guys know, not super close to China.
Not in China?
No, it's not in China.
No.
It's pretty far away. I forgot. No, I'm just taking another drink because I just can't with the whole this is set in China thing when it's so obviously set in the Middle East.
I don't know why he has that take.
It literally just.
I know
it says
he says, but that's not a good reason.
No, it's a really, really bad reason.
At all.
Oh man, it's like if I said, "Oh hey, I'm from the Northeast," and what I mean is like New England, but you're like, "Oh, you mean like northern China near the border with Russia?" Like, no, that's not what I mean.
Nope.
He didn't say nothing until he got about chapter 32, I think. Elihu finally speaks up. One of the guys, I forget which one now, but one of Job's friends said, I know I'm telling the truth because I saw a vision. In the night, my hair stood on end and I saw this vision, and so I know I'm telling you the truth. I get real nervous when I get these guys telling me, they got a vision from God about God's will for my life. Right away, red flags go up. Wait a minute. God can talk to me just fine, He doesn't need to give you some kind of vision in the night. What the guy was trying to say is, I've had a superior spiritual experience. Therefore, I'm better than you spiritually.
I mean, isn't that kind of the point of prophets? Is that I've had visions from God that you haven't, so... I don't know.
Listen up.
Yeah.
And we get that same thing happens today in Christianity, where you get some person that says, I spoke in tongues, or I did this, or I did something else, and therefore, I'm better than you are spiritually. That's what they're implying.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that anyone who hasn't, say, beat his kids, or abused them emotionally, or neglected them when they came to visit him in the last, decade or so, or who has not, been convicted of beating his wife, or who hasn't harbored predators who prey on children, who are currently, as far as I know, awaiting trial for that. Anyone who hasn't done any of those things, I'm going to put on a higher spiritual pedestal than Kent, which basically means most people. So congratulations everybody.
Chat.
Basically, everyone in chat, as far as I know, is a higher plane spiritually. You guys are, you must have a higher frequency than Kent does when it comes to spirituality, whatever that means. Ask for that community for $5.69. Nice. Says AIG is a rucksack of rope-shaped organs about the length of the distance between Mesopotamia and China. That's a pretty hefty organs right there, but thank you. We'll take a drink. Okay. Too Young to Feel This Old, who's been a member for 10 months and is at the Saropsid level, says, need help with choosing my next beer. 1 Blood Orange Hefeweizen or 2 New Zealand-style Pale. Ooh. But it also sends... Yeah, I think I would probably right now go with the Blood Orange Hefeweizen. But, yeah, that might just be a me thing, though. But also sends a Godzilla, a Mothra, and a Ghidorah emoji, as well as a Tetrapod, an unfortunate Pelagic tunicate, a good God-fearing Sessile tunicate, and an AIG is a bag of dicks emoji. Take a drink for that. Thank you very much to Young Gavilas. And yeah, I vote the Blood Orange Hefeweizen.
Some of them, of course, really honestly believe that. They believe they are better than you because of some experience they had.
Kent, you have people on your cult compound literally comparing you to Moses, calling you the Lord's chosen, and saying that people who disagree with you are like Korah from Korah's rebellion in Exodus. You don't have a leg to stand on when you talk about people who think that they're spiritually superior to others. Because, my God, dude, that is just the embodiment of Kent. This is just a bunch of projection here.
And that would go off into a long discussion, which I'm not afraid to get into. We just don't have time right now.
Dude, this is
because you're talking about dinosaurs.
Right. But also, this is your CSE course, where you have... I think I checked on it. It's something like... there's like 6 or 7 of these per class, and there's like 5 classes. And each one of them is like 2 hours. So there's like 60 to 80 hours of this crap. You've got time if you wanted to, Kent.
Job answered the Lord. I'm sorry, Job chapter 38. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind. Now God's going to speak to Job. There was a fellow in the Bible, had 2 sons.
Skeletor over 9,000, who's been a member for 7 months and is at the amniote level, says, Kent has a face for radio. Too bad he lacks the audio equipment. And there's a Kent and a Godzilla emoji, which means we drink for the Godzilla emoji. Oh, man. Yeah, so, okay, part of the problem is, if you go back and watch the last episode, right, when we started this video, the audio was actually much, much, much worse than this. I spent some time today cleaning it up, even though no one remembered to remind me, even though I asked you all to. And it was so much worse. But the thing is, it's the kind of bad audio quality that you get from an old VHS cassette. Because as time goes and like the quality on the magnetic strip kind of degrades, you start to get a lot more... oh, there's Godzilla. You get a lot more hissing and high-pitched whines, and you can often get like a sawtooth sound. And pink noise and stuff. Let's see. Pads asks, what were their names? I'm not sure whose names we're talking about. I'm not sure how to answer that. Okay. Oh, I forgot to hit plus for Godzilla.
Jacob and Esau. How many remember that story about Jacob and Esau?
Yes. Jacob tricked Esau, and Esau was the hairy one. And there was some exchange of birthright in exchange for soup. I hope that soup was
soup involved.
Yeah, I hope that soup was really, really, really good because
Was it worth it?
Yeah, the dude disinherited himself for soup. It's like, man, I hope you were super hungry and that soup was amazing.
Super hungry.
Yeah. Boy, did you miss out.
Isaac, the old man, is blind, and he's old and he's dying. And he calls his son Esau in. He says, Esau, I want you to go catch a deer, kill it, and make me some venison, and I'm going to give you the blessing before I die. You all know that story. Esau takes off to go get a deer. Well, the mother heard this.
We all know the story. Why is he telling it? And what does this have to do with Job? And what does that have to do with dinosaurs?
Those are excellent questions.
Called the other son, Jacob, and said, hey, come here, Jacob. Go get some sheep. Go get 2 sheep. I want you to kill them. We're going to take the wool off of one. I'm going to cover the back of your hand since your brother's hairy and you're not hairy. I'm going to cover the back of your neck in case your father decides to feel you. And I'm going to cook the venison, or cook the lamb to make it taste as much like venison as I can. And you know the story. They brought the lamb in, and the dad said, you sound like Jacob, but you feel like Esau. The dad got in trouble because he went by the feeling instead of by the voice.
Savage Cobra official per se for $5 says, Answers in Godzilla is superior to the slimy sack of sausages that is AIG. Yeah, you know, if AIG stood for Answers in Godzilla, I would love that. That would be so much more cool. Thank you very much. Almost done with this beer.
Oh, nice.
And we get the same thing in Christianity today. We've got an awful lot of people going by the feeling instead of by the word. The question is, what does the word say?
Here's the problem, though, Kent. The word, by which you mean the Bible, doesn't interpret itself. You might think that you're going for the plain meaning of the text, but you're not. There's no one plain meaning of the text, and if you were to try to assume that everything in the Bible is more or less literal as you find it in the Bible, you're going to find contradictions all over the place. And I know that you know this because when you are confronted with them, you come up with these rationalizations that are not the plain meaning of the text. The plain meaning of the text says that the earth has a dome over it, which has windows in it that open up to storehouses that God lets snow and rain through. You don't believe that, Kent. The plain reading of the Bible says that if you breed cattle or sheep in front of stripy sticks, they have spotted and stripy offspring. You don't believe that, Kent. According to the plain reading of the Bible, the value for pi is 3. You don't believe that either, Kent. So don't go around telling people that you're just taking the Bible as it comes to you, and this is just the plain meaning of the text. God said it, I believe it, and that settles it. You are basing your interpretation on the Bible based on what you think the Bible is supposed to say, based on your interpretive framework that you inherited from the tradition of your Baptist upbringing. That's what's happening. Now, I'm not going to tell you can't do that, right? Like, what do I care? Interpret the Bible whatever way you want, as long as you're not going to hurt other people, which, by the way, I mean, you are, but if you weren't, I wouldn't care. But let's not pretend that that's not what you're doing. It's what everyone does, right? If you are approaching this text from a textual critical standpoint of looking into the, as far as we can tell, historical context of these texts, that is bringing in a certain set of interpretive frameworks that you don't have to use. If you're interpreting this in the light of the, the teaching of the church fathers as interpreted through the doctors of the church in the Catholic Church, that's bringing in a different set of, exegetical assumptions and theological framework through which you will see the Bible. Similarly, if you're going to read the Bible from the standpoint of someone who's a Mormon, you're going to bring in all those assumptions. You can't just get away from the fact that you must interpret the text that is written. So you are always going by some kind of feeling. The question is the feeling appropriate to what you're doing, and are you using it as an excuse to hurt other people? TC the Unbeliever, in their first super chat on the channel, says AIG is a polyester person proxy pelagic pancakes. That's a new one on me, but I'll take a drink for it. Thank you very much. Which also means that we are it is now time for me to open a second bottle of beer. For Strawberry Vein has just super chatted for $2. AIG is a big bowl of Babasticky, which means that when I finish pouring this beer, I'll hit one for the previous one, I will take a drink. You get a decent pour in here. Remember, the maximum head that your beer should have, with very few exceptions, mono-layer of bubbles.
Yeah.
All right,
That's
there's
a good
drink.
touch to make that pour.
Yeah, I don't always succeed. I usually succeed. I don't always. At least I'm not doing the, you know that famous picture of Hillary Clinton pouring a beer, where she's got like 2 inches of beer at the bottom of a cup of head, and it's just like, my goodness, woman. Who taught you to pour beer?
That's the first time she's ever done that before.
I know. It's like, hello, fellow Americans. I am one of you. I enjoy the beer, and I have the hot sauce in my purse at all times. Okay, sure.
Right.
Javad Khusro, Khusro. Let me go with it. My name is from Urdu. Oh, okay. Okay, so Javad and look, I don't actually know Urdu, so I'm basically just kind of like, this is what those letters sound like in Arabic, but I'm gonna go with for your last name. So I'm gonna go Javad Khusro. Also, Felix the cat, the wonderful cat, whenever he gets a fix, he reaches into his bag of AIG that's a bunch of dicks. So take a drink. Thank you very much, Javad. Yeah, I do not know Urdu. But I do know enough Arabic to roughly be able to read what the pronunciation of Urdu should be. One of the convenient things is that Urdu also borrows from like the Persian version of the Arabic alphabet, which has a few extra letters for sounds that occur in Persian but not in Arabic, but they also occur pretty frequently in Urdu, because those are both Indo-Iranian languages. So there's a lot of overlap phonetically between Persian and Urdu. So, hooray for linguistics!
Yay.
Okay.
I was in a big argument this week, 2 days ago in California, with one fella who says, you know, this Dr. Hugh Ross, who's a very nice man, you know, he says, he has to be right. He's such a nice guy, you know. I said, now, wait a minute.
I don't think this ever happened, Kent. That does not sound like a real conversation. I'm drinking for conversations that didn't happen. Steve Reno for $2 says, grumble, grumble. Accurate. This is accurate.
You don't go...
Oh, and Diamond for $2 says, this is your reminder that turtles are the best tetrapod. Once again, I will not dispute, but I also cannot currently confirm.
Go by feeling. You don't go by what a nice guy he is. You go by what does the word say. And if somebody tells me it's a local flood in the days of Noah, and my Bible says it was a worldwide flood, I'm going to go by what the Bible says, and I don't care how nice the guy is.
Okay, but it's weird that you don't go with the storehouses of heaven, in which God stores up the rain and snow that he lets through the windows of heaven, which, according to the same Genesis, are one of the sources of floodwaters. Just going to put it out there. Just going to go with what the word says. Why not those bits? Right, because it's too ridiculous even for you.
It doesn't matter. And I don't care if somebody has a feeling. You get in trouble when you go by feelings. You have to go by, thus saith the Lord. What does the word say? And anyway, that was Eliphaz and Bildad and Zophar's problem. They kept going by their feelings, which is a big problem in Christianity today when you get into this psychological analyzing people's problems psychologically instead of scripturally.
That was way too close to don't get psychiatric care, just read the Bible, and I'm going to take a drink for it.
Yeah, that is not good medical advice.
Yeah. If you need mental health help, I'm not saying you can't read the Bible, whatever, but you need to go seek out help from a medical professional. Reading the Bible is not a replacement for actual evidence-based psychiatric care. It's not, and it's not okay to pretend that it is. This is one of the areas where Kent goes into pseudo-medical stuff, right? He's got a few others, and we've talked about it before, and if it comes up again, we'll talk about it again. But this is the worst part of what Kent does. Is not only does he instill an anti-science bias in his fans, I speak as a former fan, but he will also encourage people to forego actual medical care in exchange for various nonsense like eating poison or just reading the Bible. Because look, according to Kent, and I'm putting some words in his mouth here, but like, oh, you're not depressed. You're just not having enough Jesus. Here, read Mark. You'll feel better. That's not how it works. So, yeah. Goodness. I'm trying not to lose my temper right now.
Yeah, it's kind of repulsive, Ken, to imply that.
Yeah.
Or to state it.
Very few things really make me lose my temper as much as medical pseudoscience. That's why I don't cover it. Because there's no way I could cover it without mostly yelling a lot. So,
yeah.
It's one of the reasons that's the big reason I don't do it. It gets me too angry. So I'm gonna hit play. Soulcat says, having seen a therapist that did an exorcism on me, can confirm that proper psychologists are better. Wow. I'm glad that you came out of that without, permanent physical damage, because there's a long history of people performing exorcisms, and the people who are having whatever spirit allegedly exorcised, having serious, long-lasting injuries or just dying. That's a thing that happens. I'll say this: that is why the Catholic Church requires a licensed physician of any or no religion to be on hand, which I guess I appreciate. Like, I wish more religious groups that bothered with exorcisms would require a trained medical doctor on hand. But, yeah. Exorcisms are basically a bunch of shams, and they're often dangerous for the person who's being quote-unquote treated. It's worse than most faith healings. Because most faith healing things, right? Someone pretends to take away your disease, and then you go home really no worse for the wear. Exorcisms often involve things like tying people down, depriving them of food and water, all sorts of ridiculous things. So, Ashwell Nekamimi for $10 says, if Ken brings in his moronic "don't go to psychiatry, you have the Bible one more time, I'm going to drink my first beer." I'm not going to say that you should let Kent drive you to drink if it's, a coping mechanism. I'm doing it because it's a fun time to hang out with you guys. But, like, I get it if that's what does it.
And I'm not against, psychology. I minored in that in college. But we got an
Kent, you never went to a real college. Okay, you spent 2 years in a real college before you transferred to a fake Bible college that wasn't accredited. You don't have a minor because you don't have any real degrees. Taking a drink for that ridiculous lie.
A lot of these guys going around trying to solve everybody's problems with biblical psychology. And I just think you ought to put up some cautions and say, wait a minute, let's just stick exactly with the Bible. What does this book say? Go by the word. Okay.
No, go with the actual psychology that isn't biblical psychology. Go with evidence-based psychology, not what some guy thinks the Bible says about how to fix your mental health. First of all, again, the Bible doesn't interpret itself. And second, there's this thing called evidence-based medicine, or as we also call it, medicine. What you should be doing to treat health problems, including mental health problems. Strawberry Bane for $5 says, the pastor at my last church may have refused to baptize me because I'm queer, but at least he was a huge supporter of real mental health care. Hey, that is, that's a step up from a lot of what I've seen. I'm not going to say that, there aren't plenty of churches out there that are big fans of actual proper mental health care. But there are also plenty that aren't. And so, I'm glad that he wasn't dismissive of actual proper health care for people with mental health problems. Because there are a bunch who are. Not that uncommon.
So the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind. Now, if a tornado ever starts talking to me, I'm going to pay attention.
Okay.
And the Lord said, who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? That phrase, darkeneth counsel, he tries to hide good advice. There's some good advice, and he's trying to hide it. Words without knowledge. Well, we got plenty of that going around the world today. A lot of people speaking words, but they don't know what they're talking about.
More projection.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a drink for how hard Kent is projecting right now. Remember, this is the guy who's been calling himself Dr. Dino for, like, decades. And when I asked him point blank if he could identify a dinosaur as such, he was like, well, I never really thought about that. I guess I'd have to look into it. Ouch.
He did say that.
Yep.
It was great.
Yep, you've all heard it if you've been watching more than, like, one video on this channel.
God said, Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? This is the first question of, by my count, 84. Henry Morris counts it and thinks there are 77 questions. I think there's 84. It kind of depends how you want to divide them. But there's over 70, possibly as many as 84 questions in the next 4 chapters.
T.D. Lane points out, well, dinosaur equals whatever Kent says is a dinosaur. I mean, last time he did imply that giant squid and giant octopus were dinosaurs, which is quite the take.
As God speaks to Job. The 4 chapters where God spoke to Job are Job chapter 38, 39, 40, and 41. In those 4 chapters, Job has one very brief interruption where he says, Lord, I'm going to put my hand on my mouth. I've been talking, but I shouldn't have said a word. And God goes on. Basically, for 4 chapters, God is speaking to Job, starting in chapter 38, and God asked Job questions. Who remembers? About how many questions did God ask Job?
You just said it was like 84 or maybe 77, but I don't know why it matters.
84. That's my count anyway. 84 questions God asked Job. Here's the first one. God said, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth?
Kent, how come you don't take it literally that the Earth has foundations? Because I'm pretty sure you don't think that the Earth is this disk sitting on foundations, which is the ancient Near East cosmology that this is referencing. I'm just going to take a drink for Kent not taking the Bible at its word. Weird.
The press isn't arguing that it's supposed to say foundation without the S at the end.
Yeah, like he does with heavens and
Like
Genesis
he does
1.
with heaven and heavens.
Yeah, that is weird.
This is a fascinating verse because what are the foundations of the earth?
Oh, that's easy. They're pillars that suspend the Earth, the disk of the Earth, physically above the level of the waters of the Great Deep, the Tehom, which are also plugged up by the fountains of the Great Deep being closed.
There are those who think that when God first made the world, he made the crust of the earth had foundations to it. There's, I believe...
It's weird how the Bible doesn't talk about, like, the sphericity of the earth and, like, there being, like, a molten part that maybe the crust should be held above. But also the crust couldn't be held above the mantle like that. The crust floats on the mantle because it's primarily less dense than the rocks of the mantle. That's how it works. You can't just put a pillar there.
I believe it's Baumgartner, the physicist, has done intensive research on from seismograph readings. When you have an earthquake, it sends out a wave through the earth.
Well, a lot of waves, but sure.
They can tell by the wave how thick the crust of the earth is. By different readings they get in different parts of the country.
That's true. Take a drink.
And so it appears like under the continents there are almost like pillars that go way down deep, where it's very different density to the material.
No, oh my god. Take another drink for him getting this badly wrong. So, the continental crust is in fact less dense than oceanic crust. That's primarily what makes the difference between continental and oceanic crust. Oceanic crust is primarily basalt. Continental crust is primarily granite. Now, the fact that it is in fact lighter is why it sits higher. It's why the continents are higher than the bottoms of the ocean. But it also means that it sinks a little bit lower, because it's a bit like an iceberg, right? A lot of that mass is going to be below the surface. So the continental crust is a lot thicker both up and down as a result of this. But there are no foundations on continental crust. It's just the whole thing is thick. If by foundation you just mean a big old slab of granite, then I guess, but that's not what most people think of when they think of foundation.
And some people think there really are foundations, going way down deep into the earth, foundations to the continents. oceanic crust, under the oceans, the crust is only 3 to 5 miles thick.
I don't remember if that number is correct, but he is right that the ocean crust is thinner.
Under the continents, it's at least 30 miles thick, and maybe even much more than that. So there appear to be actually foundations to the earth. Now, if you read in the next few verses here about the angels shouted for joy when they saw God lay the foundations of the earth. Some have used this to argue that the angels were...
admitting that he's a flat earther right now?
I mean, he should be a flat earther on the basis of this. This is again another example of the earth, of the Bible assuming a flat earth.
Misunderstanding. He's misunderstanding all of it.
Mm-hmm. Created before the earth, before the creation 6,000 years ago. That's not what it says. The foundations of the earth were probably laid on the second or third day.
Oh, there's Godzilla twice. We'll take 2 things for Godzilla. Godzilla is very active today, and I'm not sure why. It's not you, is it, Bent?
Nope.
Alright, here we go.
Possibly second day. And so the angels must have been created on the first or second day. The Bible doesn't tell us when they were created. But the angels were probably created first or second day, and then they got to see the rest of the creation. So the angels and Satan and Lucifer and all that stuff is not from before the creation. We went over that in an earlier session. Okay, Job doesn't answer the question, so God asked him another question.
I like how Kent has his own fan fiction for when the angels are made, even though it doesn't actually say in the Bible. So it's yet again, it's almost like Kent isn't just taking the Bible as it comes. He's putting his own weird interpretations into it, isn't it?
Whoops.
Weird.
Busted. He's busted.
Oh, man. It's almost like you can't really come to a text as long and complicated as the Bible without some kind of exegetical framework that you have to impose on the text itself.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. In the words of Jeranism.
Declare, if thou hast understanding, who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest. In other words, who figured out the measurements of the earth? That's an amazing verse that you can go for hours on. The measurements of the earth are absolutely perfect for...
Sorry?
I said, can you?
I mean, Kent apparently can go on for hours about just about anything, including how squid are dinosaurs.
I mean, he's going on for hours, but he's not talking about dinosaurs. So, I don't know. He's just rambling.
Thierry Ronda says, well, angels are poultry, so it should be on day 5. They do have wings, so there you go. Although, actually, if you want to take the Bible seriously, a lot of angels don't seem to have wings because they're mistaken for humans all the time. Because, like, there's the trope of, like, the biblically accurate angels, but that's, like, from one vision. Most of the time when angels appear in the Bible, they're just mistaken for people. So, the typical depiction of an angel in the Bible seems to just be some guy.
Human life. If the earth were more massive, gravity would be stronger.
That's true. We'll take a drink. Kent understands the very basic form of the universal gravitation in terms of its equation.
And I'll give him credit for that because, as dumb as he is, it's quite possible he didn't know that.
Yeah, I would not have.
But he does.
Soulcat asks, what about the angels in Revelation? First of all, it's Revelation. There's only one Revelation in that book. And they tend to vary a bit more. Strawberry Vein for $5 says, I've literally never heard someone say that the angels were created in the middle of creation week. Where the actual heck did that come from? Basically, it comes from Kent trying to square different verses in the Bible talking about what angels did and didn't do at different times during retellings of creation narratives. And the thing is that because these do not all have the same author, and the authors were writing these things for different reasons and with not even all the same theology, these things do not neatly line up with each other into a single coherent narrative. So he has to use some kind of interpretive framework that he primarily gets from his Baptist interpretive tradition to try to harmonize all these things, because he is committed to there not being any contradictions in the Bible. And so he has to basically just make up harmonies that don't exist in the text, but that, if taken seriously, would kind of make sense of otherwise not obviously compatible passages. So yeah, that's where that basically out of Kent's butt.
Pretty much.
It'd be harder to get up. It'd be harder to do everything.
Yeah, but if you lived on a higher gravity world, Kent, you'd probably be stronger because, there's this thing called, plasticity, where it's kind of like the converse. You know how when people go to space, their muscles get weaker and their bones get more fragile?
They adapt to their environment.
Yeah. Well, there's no reason to think that if you were on a high gravity world, up to a point, right? Like if it was like 1.3 Gs, chances are you'd get stronger and your bones would get more dense. And you'd be okay. Now, you still have to worry more about even short falls, right? Like a single trip could be a pretty serious thing. But you'd probably be able to get on. And yeah, it sure is true that getting up would be harder. Doesn't mean it wouldn't work. Because the thing is, when Kent says that the Earth is perfect for humans, it's the same problem as the puddle saying that, oh, this hole I find myself is perfectly shaped to fit me. What a weird coincidence. No. You, the puddle, have conformed to the shape of the hole in which you find yourself. Similarly, humans are adapted to the planet on which they find themselves. If they were on a different planet, they would adapt differently. So, yeah. And Cyberscope official per se said you probably have more health problems and a shorter lifespan as well. Possibly. But then again, I do also think that humans could evolve to adapt to a relatively high G world in, via evolution without probably much problem. Get more efficient hearts, get stronger bones, bigger muscles, probably end up being shorter because the taller you are, the higher you can fall on like a trip or something, so the more you can injure yourself. So my guess would be that if humans adapted to a high G world, they'd end up as short, stocky, basically like Tolkien dwarves. Maybe without the beards, because I don't think that's a necessary adaptation to high gravity.
I'll still have the beard.
Fair enough. I mean, maybe with the beard, right? But that's also a Godzilla. Okay.
If the Earth were not as massive, gravity would be less.
Cool. We'll take 2 drinks, one for that and one for Godzilla. Okay. We're going to get a little bit more Kent in, and then we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to grab myself a couple more beers, and then we will continue on.
If the Earth were spinning faster, our days would be different. If it was spinning slower, you would cook in the daytime and freeze at the nighttime.
I feel like it would depend on how much slower. We'll take a quick drink for, yes, the day is based on the rotation of the Earth, and it would be different if Earth rotated differently. Which, I mean, the rotation of the Earth is slowing down. So, what does Kent mean? What if the day was 30 hours instead of 24 hours? Would you cook? I mean, maybe in some places, but not just overall. I don't think it would make the planet uninhabitable. This is Kent just basically saying that Earth as it is now couldn't vary at all without backing that up any. What math did you do, Kent, to determine that certain rotational periods of the Earth would be untenable for supporting human life? Where is that number?
And what does it have to do with dinosaurs?
Right. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back from the break, we will give a few quick messages about how you can support the channel, if you'd like to. And then we will continue on with this. And in the meantime, I will leave you with the musical stylings of Bent Hovind, and also possibly a quick ad break, because I like things like being able to afford food and to not be homeless. All right, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with me through the break, those of you who did, which is most of you. Much appreciated. So before we actually continue on, while I pour this beer, I want to say a few things, one of which is that this channel was a big risk for me. One day I said, you know what? I'm just going to see if I can run this channel that has become sort of my passion project just full time without, becoming destitute. And for a while, it did not look like that gamble was going to pay off at all. However, of late it has, and almost entirely because of the efforts of my viewers and fans. And I cannot express how grateful I am for that, because none of you have to be here at all. You don't owe me anything. And yet, you're here, you're super chatting, and you are supporting the channel, you're liking, you're sharing, all that great stuff. Now, if you would like to support a little more than you are now, and you are not currently either a patron or a channel member, check those out. There are months and months worth of videos up for early access. I think there's about 5 months or so. Like if I finish a video like tomorrow, it probably won't be out on the channel until like November. That's how much stuff there is to watch for early access for you guys. It really is. Someone asked me like, "Oh, hey, when's that video that you made coming out for the public?" And I'm like, "October, I think." And they're like, "But it's May." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." So, now, if you want to join the Patreon, it starts at $1 a month, but you can also go annual for a 12% discount. And also, the Gay Bead says, your community has actually given me a nice friend group, so thank you for that. And I appreciate that. That's another thing is, if you're a member or a patron, you can get access to the Discord server where I think we have a great time. I think it's a good community there. It's not like there are never conflicts or anything, but I think overall it is a very supportive, understanding, deeply nerdy community. We have text channels for tabletop RPG stuff. We've got conlangs. We've got gaming more broadly. There's also a place for if you need to vent or share heavy stuff that you can go to. There's even a sports ball channel for if you want to talk about sports ball. And one of the only hard and fast rules of the entire Discord server is don't tag me in the sports ball channel. You can tag other people. You can't tag me. But if an annual or a monthly thing isn't what you want to do, and you'd still like to support, there are other options. There's a Teespring store where you can buy merch. It's linked in the description. Both Bent and I have Amazon gift lists, or wish lists. That's what it is, wish lists. And hey, my birthday's coming up soon, so, if you want to do a birthday gift, there's a wish list right there. It has things ranging from like $12 all the way to like a $500 portable audio recording studio. So
that would be so nice.
It'd be very nice, but I also do not expect it because that would be extremely nice. So yeah. And also, if you can't afford it or you're just not interested in a monetary support, please just make sure that you like these videos, share them with people you think would be interested in watching them, tweet these videos out, put them on Facebook, put them on Instagram. I don't know. Oh, there's Godzilla. We'll take a drink of Godzilla. Let's see. So yeah, those all help the channel grow. They help get new subscribers, new viewers, and new viewers and new subscribers can turn into new patrons and new, because that is by far the majority of how I support myself on this channel. But with that, let's get more Kent in. Ready?
Yeah.
That's the problem the moon has. The moon is spinning so slow,
Oh my goodness, Godzilla.
it takes it almost a full month to turn around one time. Which means you're in the sun for 14 days straight.
Mm-hmm.
It gets up to 250 degrees. Way past the boiling point of water, Fahrenheit.
What's the problem? Are you saying it would be a problem for people living there? Because I think the bigger problem would just be the no air.
Yeah, I don't think anyone lives on the moon.
Yeah.
Unless he's going to talk about dinosaurs on the moon.
Or what orcas on the moon. Don't forget about the orcas on the moon.
I already forgot about it.
Or the whalers on the moon.
forgot about them too.
You know, they tell tall tales because there ain't no whales, because they're whalers on the moon. You need to watch more Futurama, Bent. We need to get you to watch Futurama.
I knew you were
Can you
quoting
believe
something. But
Can you believe this guy hasn't seen Futurama? What is wrong with
no,
him?
I'm living in the present.
All right,
not the future.
here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make a add a poll. So let's see. Start
I'll
a
vote.
poll. All right. Should Bent watch Futurama? Yes, no, and of course, Turtle. But also, I want to say thank you very much to Vishanti, who just gifted 1 Dapper Dinosaur membership, and it went to Rodent No Last Name. So we will take a drink for that. Thank you very much. Okay. Currently, we're sitting at 100% or 83%. Say yes. No one's saying no. It's a race between yes and Turtle. I should have added Hypnotoad. Oh well.
Why?
Because Hypnotoad is great.
I think
And at night, it gets
Oh, did you vote no? Are you the one person who voted no?
No, I voted yes.
Oh, okay.
extremely cold, down about 100 and some below 0 Fahrenheit, because it's dark for 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
If the Earth were spinning slower or faster, it would greatly affect life on Earth. If
Effect, yeah, but that doesn't mean negate.
the atmosphere weren't as thick, if there weren't an ozone layer, and there are entire books written about how the Earth was designed for human life. It's just designed to support life here.
Okay. So, look, Earth does seem to be an unusual planet in numerous ways. However, the conditions on Earth have varied greatly during the time on which Earth has supported life. So the current status quo is not vital to any forms of life imaginable. I don't even think it's vital to humans, right? Because humans have gone through some pretty dramatic shifts in climate over time. Not as dramatic as the current ridiculous increase in temperatures that are currently going on. These were all slower events, but still. The Earth being a bit different is not enough to just destroy all life, never mind human life. Goop23 for $2 says, what about the Jadoon platoon on the moon? Well, I do think Bent has seen the Jadoon platoon on the moon.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at least he's got that background.
I've seen Doctor Who.
Yeah, Dr. Fearmonger says, what about the Arctic regions that get 24 hours of sunlight during the summer but are still pretty chilly? I mean, I will say, if the Earth's rotational period were like two weeks or something, that would... The Arctic regions would probably be okay in terms of, like, not huge amounts of difference in terms of, you know, solar flux, but, like, it probably would cause some problems around, like, the tropics and, like, the temperate zones. That's the word I'm looking for.
So God laid the measures thereof. It's got exactly the right density of material, exactly the right gravitational pull. Now, the moon is very different. The moon is about 30% silica, I understand, which is very highly reflective. When they...
The Earth... Take a drink. Okay, Bent. You ever been in a classroom with a chalkboard? Not a whiteboard. Chalkboard.
Yes, I have.
You know, the moon is about as light colored or as dark colored, depending on what you want to say, as a clean chalkboard.
I did know that.
Yeah. That's not very reflective. Yeah. If you could pick up lunar regolith and look at it under normal lighting conditions, it would be black. It's only bright because of, 1, how bright the sun is, and 2, how dark it is at night when you're looking at the moon like a full moon. So, yeah. Al Trucker, who's been a member for 2 months and is at the amulet level, says, I got a truck early, but I'm glad to see Drunken Kent Benders in progress. Yeah. All right, here we go.
brought back lunar soil in 1969 and analyzed it. Somebody made the comment, you know, this is extremely reflective material. It looks like the moon was designed to reflect light.
Okay, hold on. I'm just going to look up moon albedo. Not libido, albedo. They're different. 0.07. That means that 93% of the light that hits the moon is absorbed. Now let's check the albedo of a mirror, a thing we know to be designed to reflect light, right? Because that's the whole point of why people make mirrors, is to reflect light.
By design.
Right. Mirror albedo. Let's see. I'm not getting a quick answer.
Get a slower answer.
Although I am getting that an ideal mirror has 100% albedo, or an albedo of 1. Let's see. Clouds, which are white, range from 40 to 90%. Fresh snow is from 70, so from 0.75 to 0.9. Those aren't even designed to reflect light, but they're pretty darn reflective compared to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh, so here's one. Albedo can range from between 0, no reflectance, and 1, complete reflectance, like a mirror, although real mirrors are actually slightly lower than 1. So, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say, just go out on a limb and say that if you have an albedo lower than 0.9, you were not designed to reflect light. Just put that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The numbers don't lie.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a drink for the moon was designed to reflect light when it only reflects 7% of the light that hits. Tesla Ranger says Vantablack has an albedo of 0.0035. My goodness, that's low.
That's crazy low.
Yeah. It also reminds me of like my favorite Vantablack meme about like, what if you painted a pool in Vantablack and it ends with like destroying all life on Earth in a zombie plague? And it's just like, oh, okay. Or something about this seems a little off, but what do I know?
I could have told him that without going up there to get a piece of it. Yeah, it was designed to reflect light. And probably when God first made it, it didn't have all the craters. So it would have reflected light much better.
Why?
What?
The craters aren't dark spots, Kent.
I just eaten. Oh, man.
The lunar mare are dark spots relative to the craters, which are relative bright spots comparatively. I'm just taking a minute.
That broke my brain a little bit.
Oh my goodness. Hey, is there a dog over here? Dog in my setup over here?
Probably.
Oh, there she is. Hey. There's a tiny little dog who's trapped on my mouse wire. Hey, why don't you back up? Dummy.
That's too complicated.
Almost. You got one leg out. Come on.
Come on, girl. You can do it.
She's just going to be stuck for a little while. Goodness. Dogs are dumb. I love dogs, but they're dumb.
Their brains
Like a
are a
crystal
little small.
They are.
Mall or something up there. And then possibly either at the curse, or my theory is that probably at the time of the flood, an ice meteor came flying through our solar system. And we covered that on...
Of course it did.
Ice meteor. Those are called comets, Kent. We're taking a drink for Kent not knowing the difference between a comet and a meteor. Oh my goodness, an ice comet. But what's next? You're going to have some water lava flowing up on Earth? Why not? Olivia Williams for 279 Beaverbuck says, play Rolling Stones Painted Black. No, because I will get super copyright claim for that. But also, yes, it would be appropriate.
The Hovind theory.
Goodness. Yeah, the Hovind theory.
So
this is the Hovind theory.
absurd.
Yeah, where
It's so absurd.
this is where Kent thinks that you can crash a comet onto the north and south pole of the Earth and have it cool the planet down, because apparently potential energy doesn't exist in Kent's world. Which is the only way that could possibly work.
video or seminar part 6, the Hovind theory. If a meteor came...
You know what? I'm going to call that a confirmed prediction.
Got it.
DM Wing. DM Wing confirmed prediction. I'm going to take a drink for you. Heather Kuhn for $5 says, wouldn't a mirror's albedo depend on the composition of the mirror? Yes, it would. Yep. So it would depend on the... So mirrors are basically all backed with some kind of metal. And it would depend on exactly what metal is used. And usually what happens is like a metal is poured as like a liquid onto the surface as flat as possible, as smooth a mirror as possible. But yeah, it would. Ashanti for $2 says, "No, Kent, it's the rock crabs." So the rock crabs from the moon. Now there's a good reference that I don't think Bent is gonna get.
No.
Oh man. Get to watch some more, like, what is it? Apollo 19, I think is the name of it.
Okay.
Yeah, good stuff. But also,
If you
Ashanti
say so.
sends her own emoji, but with a Godzilla emoji. So we'll take a drink for the Godzilla. All right, here we go.
An ice meteor came through the solar system.
It was 18. Did I say 19 or 18?
I'm not sure what you said.
Well, it was 18. So yeah, as Ashanti says, hashtag lunar truth, Apollo 18. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you said 19.
No. Apollo 37. It wasn't that one.
Pieces of it would break apart and fragment and hit the planets. Mercury has craters all over it. The moon has craters all over it.
I'm sorry. So, a comet flies past Earth. I get thinking that might cause craters on the moon, but also craters on Mercury? How does any of that work?
I don't think Kent knows how the solar system is arranged.
You know what? He probably doesn't have any idea about the distances involved, or like the relative orbital energies, or like the kinds of acceleration it takes to lower yourself to freaking Mercury's orbit. Like,
No, he definitely doesn't know that.
You think Kent could define delta V?
No, not a chance.
Do you think he can know he knows what units specific impulse ISP is measured in?
I doubt it. No? I highly doubt it.
Yeah, me too. Strawberry Vein for $2 says, "But how does the mirror know the light is there?" Oh, good question.
Good point.
Yeah. I don't know. Probably God. That's probably what's going on. Dark Law Dragon, who's been a member for 13 months and is at the tetrapod level, says, "Ghidorah, Mothra, Godzilla, AIG is a bag of dicks. Drink." So yes, we will in fact drink. I love that drink emoji. I'm so happy I made that thing. I just threw it together in Blender too.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of my emojis were thrown together in Blender. Let's see. The Murphy emoji was done in Blender. The citation needed was not. Pet Top, I think, was the Huit Chat was also done in Blender. The Bingo was done in Blender. The Drink was done in Blender. AIG is a bag of dicks was done in Blender. Plagic and Cecil Tunicate. No, just the Plagic was done in Blender. Cecil Tunicate. The Wing was done in Blender, and the Strawman was done in Blender. A lot of Blender. A lot of Blender, yeah. So.
And that probably...
Oh my goodness, it's Godzilla again. We'll take a drink. Dia Wing for $5 says, "Why does a moon rock taste better than an earth rock?" Do you know? Without cheating?
No, I don't know.
It's a little meteor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gosh, well, I'll drink for a joke that didn't land.
I liked it, but sure, we'll take a drink for it. Okay.
It's what started the flood and froze the mammoth standing up. We'll get into that in video number 6.
I have yet to see a citation for the idea that mammoths were flash frozen standing up. He just says it, and there's like no references.
In the class, it'll be about 18.
Also, since he mentioned that this is what flash froze the mammoths, let's talk about energy, right? So, if you have, and let's say this meteor is at 0 Kelvin, right? Absolute pure zero. Okay, so how's this going to affect the energy balance of Earth? Well, if it falls to Earth from some distance, it's going to have a potential energy proportional to that distance, right? Which means that it will add that much energy to the Earth. But hold on, when you add energy to things, on net, their temperature tends to increase, not decrease. You could say, but I've heard that negative Kelvin temperatures are a thing, and you're right. They are a thing.
They are.
You know what the trick is, though?
With negative temperatures?
Yeah, for Kelvin, though.
Oh, no.
Negative Kelvin temperatures are hotter than any positive value, including infinity. in the Kelvin scale.
Interesting.
-1 Kelvin is hotter than positive infinity Kelvin. So that's not going to help you. Also, I don't think you get a meteor to actually maintain a negative Kelvin temperature. So, yeah, no, none of this makes any sense, Ken. You cannot reduce the amount of thermal energy on Earth by slamming a freaking comet into it. That's not how physics works.
There's conservation of energy that's going to increase overall energy to the Earth.
Vadim Slomovsky-Rodchenko says, learn flirt science with negative kelvins and pressure. Okay, so negative pressure in an absolute sense is nonsense. But negative Kelvin is a real thing. There's negative Kelvin. It's real. Look it up. It's weird.
Equalize it.
And it requires, to fully understand it, which I don't, requires a pretty in-depth knowledge of, statistics and quantum mechanics. But, it's a thing.
Years till we get there at the rate we're going. Okay.
Yes, as Marianne the Night Owl says, wait, negative Kelvin? Yes, it is a real phenomenon. Very few systems can have a negative temperature Kelvin, but some systems actually can, and they are hotter than any positive temperature Kelvin system. Ashton Nakamini for $2 says, so basically, -1 Kelvin is a real-life underflow? I mean, kind of? Basically, negative temperatures are because of a situation where numerous particles in the system end up taking on the same energy state, and because of the way that Kelvin is defined in terms of statistics when talking about quantum systems, you actually end up coming out with it being negative. But all negative temperature Kelvin systems will always shed heat to any positive temperature in Kelvin, making them by definition hotter. Because remember, heat always flows from hot to cold. So because any system with a negative temperature in Kelvin will always send heat to any positive temperature, including in positive infinity, negative Kelvin temperatures are technically hotter than positive temperatures in Kelvin. Yes, it's completely insane. But it's a thing.
Kind of nice.
Yeah. It's a real thing. Look, Dr. Tapioca Weasel is, yeah. See, this is a subtle thing. It's a thermodynamics definition. Temperature in terms of partial derivatives of energy and entropy. Yeah. It's a whole big thing that it's over my head for the most part. But it is real.
Measures of the Earth. It is perfectly designed for human life.
No, humans are perfectly adapted to Earth. There's a difference. Strawberry Vein for $5 says, Ken thinks we can solve global warming by dropping a big ice cube into the ocean once a year. Yes. I will take a drink because not only is that hilarious, it's also a great Futurama reference, Bent.
I've been busy.
Yeah.
Since the poll started.
Instead of rewatching Community for the 4th time, next time you should just start Futurama.
My first time through Community.
Okay, fine.
Job doesn't answer any of these
Fair enough.
questions. God keeps asking him question after question. Job's not saying a word. We come to verse 16. And the Lord said, hast thou entered into the springs of the sea? Now you realize this was written back shortly after the flood, probably.
Zero says, over Dapper's head, that's impressive. That's like 2 meters. Yes. Yes, it is. Savage Cobra official per se, which again, I just love that. Says, my math is that an average size comet impacting at 20 kps would have a KE of 1 to the 20th joules kinetic energy. By comparison, the Hiroshima bomb was 12 orders of magnitude less. Yeah. There's no way to drop a comet from what's essentially infinity onto Earth and have it cool the Earth off. That's not how energy balances work. Yeah, so Kent Hovind's whole Hovind theory is based on just a fundamental misunderstanding of the most basic aspects of thermodynamics. Yeah. It's not great, is what I'm trying to say.
Probably. In the first, 500 years for sure. And God said, Job, have you entered into the springs of the sea? Well, nobody knew there were springs in the sea until 1977.
Except that, again, the ancient Near East cosmology included the idea that there were fountains of the great deep at Tehom, which, by the way, is a direct cognate to the Akkadian Tiamat the chaos serpent dragon goddess of the ancient cosmic ocean. And that is the same cosmic ocean. In fact, later on, Tiamat is connected to Leviathan, other cognates, and God is said to slay Leviathan in the Psalms so that he can then set up the earth, which again is just taking the motif, the common ancient Near East motif of the Chaos Conf, in which the gods conquer the waters of chaos to create the world. And then God makes the flat earth, and there are fountains in the ocean that could, if allowed to, say during a global flood, allow the waters of the great deep, that to home the cosmic ocean of chaos, onto the earth. So it doesn't matter if anyone knew that there were fountains in the ocean, or springs in the ocean, which is true. That's not what they were talking about. They were talking about openings to the great cosmic ocean, which isn't a real thing, because there is no great cosmic ocean. Although Kent will actually sometimes argue that there is a cosmic ocean beyond the observable universe, and that what's beyond the observable universe is actually an infinite bit of water, which is a weird thing that he doesn't talk about much, but he does say it sometimes. He's like, who knows, maybe there is water beyond the edge of the universe. Yeah, Kent, maybe. Sure.
Here we've got a scientific discovery in the last 30 years that God told us about over 4,000 years ago. Science is very slowly catching up with a few parts of the Bible. I don't think they're ever going to catch up with the whole thing, but they've caught up with just a few parts.
Okay, Dr. Tapioca Weasel has gifted 1 Dapper Dinosaur membership, and it went to Evan Roderick. Thank you very much, Dr. Tapioca Weasel. We will take a drink. Much appreciated. By the way, if you are a new member, or you just recently signed up to the Patreon, if you did, I don't know about it, but thank you. Make sure that you can go to your settings on Discord, then go to connections, and then add the account, whether it be Patreon or YouTube, through which you have access to the server, whether it be as a member or a patron. That will automatically add you to the server. The wrong way to get into the server is to send me a message asking me how to get into the server, because I will just tell you what I just told you. So you already know. Do that. Okay.
There are actually springs in the sea. They go down to the real deep parts of the ocean, and there are vents. Sometimes it's bubbling up boiling hot water. Sometimes it's clear water. Oftentimes it is fresh water. You have
I would love a citation on that.
Freshwater vents coming in the bottom of a saltwater ocean. When I was in Hawaii last week, we got a helicopter and one of those tour things, you pay them $80 and you fly around. They flew over one of the areas of the island where Gomer Pyle has his house. It's for sale, by the way, $5.5 million if you want to buy.
Does he mean like the actor who played Gomer Pyle has a house on an island?
He might. I don't know. I'm waiting for him to mention dinosaurs for the first time.
Yeah, my goodness, we're like a half an hour into this, and he hasn't mentioned dinosaurs at all.
Gomer Pyle's house on the island at the town of Hana, H-A-N-A. But in that area, you notice it's lava everywhere from a volcano. Mm-hmm. There's a cliff of lava, and there's waterfalls just shooting out of the side of the lava.
Okay.
It rains on top of the mountain. The mountain is so porous, it soaks up all the water, finds a channel, and comes squirting out someplace else. I bet we saw...
Congrats, Kent. You know the basics of how rivers work.
500 waterfalls in that just quick tour with a helicopter around that island. Waterfalls everywhere. And they weren't all just like a stream running and falling over a cliff. They're just starting in the middle of a cliff and shooting out. This is similar to probably what's happening at the bottom of the ocean. Somehow there are possibly still interconnected channels or caverns within the crust of the earth. Walt Brown has done great research on this.
Walt Brown of Hydroplate fame. Good stuff. He's the guy whose ideas are so crazy that they make the heat problems from catastrophic plate tectonic look like nothing. This guy has been... His models are so physically implausible that even other creationists are like, come on, man. just come on. No. Oh, man, Walt Brown. There's a reason no one takes him seriously.
What's called the Hydroplate theory. If you don't have the book In the Beginning by Walt Brown, it's a tremendous book. We have it in our bookstore out here.
Yeah, okay, Kent, but that's not a great endorsement because you also sell the Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Oops.
Yeah, which was plagiarized from a newspaper and then attributed to a bunch of rabbis that don't exist. So, yeah, that's in your bookstore, Kent, is not a great endorsement. In fact, I would say that inclusion in your bookstore is on its own good reason to suspect that it's complete nonsense. Yeah, because you've also got like A World Without Cancer, which says that people should treat their cancer by just eating poison. To be fair, if you eat enough poison, you won't have to worry about cancer, but not for the reasons you're hoping for.
For very bad reasons.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like, hey, did you know that flamethrowers have been shown to kill cancer in a lab? Like, it's true. Yep.
I guess.
That's true. That's why we should flamethrower people to cure their cancer.
I want to work at that lab.
would be an interesting lab to work.
Yeah.
That is an awesome book. Now, I disagree with Walt Brown on a couple of minor things. He does not think there was a canopy above, and I'm convinced there was, and we can.
I love it that Walt Brown has a more plausible model for the early Earth than Kent does, and I'm taking a drink for it. Because, my goodness, when Kent's like, yeah, Walt Brown doesn't buy my crazy bullshit. Okay, Kent. That you might want to stop and think about the implications of that. Crypto457 says a softset who's anti-Semitic? Yeah, weird, right? Although, look, Ken says he doesn't believe the Jew part of it. Which is like, okay, dude, you're selling the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. I don't care if you audibly say, well, I don't know if it's actually the Jews. Dude, come on, man. You're selling the book. You're selling, like, the modern handbook for anti-Semitism. I don't care what you say about whether or not you believe it's the Jews. You're selling it. So, like, yeah.
Actions speak louder than words, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, Vagri also points out that Kent also recommended the book that argued that all the National Socialists were gay. Yeah. But they were butch gay guys, and they wanted to kill all the effeminate gay guys, because apparently being butch and gay is okay if you're, the National Socialists, according to Kent. Which is, again, according to a crazy conspiracy theory book that literally no historians take seriously. Yeah. You ever notice how when you just scratch the surface of Kent Hovind, what you come away with is just a pile of actual dog shit?
He's a scratch and sniff. It smells pretty bad.
Yeah. Kent is basically just candy-coated dog turds. You don't look too hard, and all you do is take a look at the surface. He seems like sort of an affable goofball who's kind of an idiot. But then you just pull away just that tiny little bit of surface coating, and you're like, oh no, he's an actual monster.
Discuss that all day. But he's got great research on the hydroplate theory, how that when God first made the earth, there was a layer of rock for Adam and Eve to live on, the dirt, probably 10 or 20 miles thick. And then under that was interconnected chambers of water. And that water under the crust of the earth, it's mentioned in Psalm 130.
Oh, Savage Cobra Official says, what bus did he drive again? Yeah, that was what I like to call the grape bus, except when I'm not online, I don't include a G at the beginning of that word. Because it was a bus that was taking children to have various grape-related activities performed on them, which, again, the G is not normally something I would put on there if I weren't online and worried about my monetization. Yeah. Robert Adsit, member for 8 months, and is at the Amniel level, says, today I learned the collective noun for rabbis is a bunch. I don't know if that's what I was implying, but there's also some Godzilla emojis and a drink emoji and an AIG's a bag of dicks, and unfortunately a pelagic tunicate, which is disgusting. We'll take a drink for it anyway.
36, it's mentioned in Psalm 24, how the earth was founded upon the seas.
Yeah, the cosmic ocean, Kent. That's... Walt Brown also thinks the firmament that, Kent, you think is the sky because you correctly point out that the birds are said to fly across the face of the firmament. Walt Brown thinks that's the crust of the earth.
Well,
yeah.
Shucks. They can't both be right.
No.
They can both be wrong, though.
Kent's closer to being right. The firmament is indeed in the sky, not under your feet.
Water is probably what came shooting out to the surface at the time of the flood. Before the flood, most of the water that is now in the oceans was under the crust of the earth, stored in these chambers. They came shooting up to the surface, and the Bible has numerous references to that. And if you get the defense...
So, fun thing, according to Walt Brown, this was the result of tidal action from the moon, which means that the flood of Noah was not in response to human sin. It was a physical inevitability. No matter what Adam and Eve or anyone else did, the flood was inevitable. Also, should Bent watch Futurama? Yes, 72%. Turtle, 24%. No, only 3%. Bent. You are now legally obligated to watch Futurama. That's how
that's how it works.
No, that's definitely how it works.
All right.
I asked 4 different lawyers, all of whom graduated from Patriot Bible University. So you know they're good. And they all agree with me. You are now legally obligated.
Christians can't lie.
Oh. Yeah, well, talk to Kent about that, maybe.
I'd rather not talk to Kent.
Defender's Bible by Henry Morris. You can get that through our bookstore on our website. Tremendous Bible with footnotes on all sorts of interesting things. Henry Morris, the president of Institute for Creation Research for many years.
Not anymore. Now he's been replaced by Randy Galuza, who, if anything, is even dumber.
He's got a lot of stuff on that topic there. Okay. There are springs in the sea. Possibly there are still interconnected channels within the crust of the earth, like a honeycomb. Like we have caves.
Oh, because God once said, have you been to the springs of the sea?
That's it. So that's the whole reason he brought up Job.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole reason he's bringing up these fountains. Astro Nekomimi for 555 says, maybe we should replace the Power Rangers Turbo After Show with Futurama so Bent watches it. Well, we're stuck with Power Rangers until we finish Power Rangers. And there's like 30 seasons of that, so it'll be a while. But I am open to Futurama being the next show after Power Rangers.
We could do that.
Yeah. So we just have to get through all the way through probably Cosmic Fury, because that'll probably be out before we're done with the rest of Power Rangers.
It's only a couple of years.
If by a couple you mean like 25, then sure.
It's not going to take us 25 years to get through all of Power Rangers.
You mean how long it will take? Okay, never mind. I thought you meant how many years worth of Power Rangers it is.
It's just a couple of years for us.
Yeah. Heather Kuhn says 2 words: lava tubes. Right? That's not a thing anyone except creationists have ever thought of. Strawberry Vein for $2 says, just skip the transphobic episode, Bent. Yeah.
All right, I'll skip it.
Caves all over.
I don't know which
Missouri,
one it
just
is,
Missouri
but I'll
alone has
skip it.
5,000 caves. Many have never been explored. I've been in so many caves. I like going spelunking, as they call it.
Oh, Savage Cobra. Kind of official. Or, no, now it's official per se. Sorry. Screw that up. Just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships, and they went to Galacia 789, Funk Dragon 76, Hollyhock, Surf, and Biggest August. So thank you very much, and we'll take 5 drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Although, I will say, the transphobic episode has an unfortunately great song in the national anthem of Rabonia, which is Hail, Hail, Rabonia, a land I didn't make up. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's in that episode. It's actually a rather amusing little catchy national anthem for Rabonia, a land that Bender did not make up.
I believe it.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
You know, I was in a cave once in Tennessee. When I saw the opening to the cave, I said, we're not going in there, are we? And Kurt Wise, who's a brilliant man, teacher at Bryan College, he was with me. He said, yeah, let's go in. I've heard it's a really neat cave. You had to decide when you went in the cave, the opening was about as wide as this room and about that high. It was probably you had to decide when you had to slide through. You had to decide if you wanted your face to the left or your face to the right, because you couldn't turn your head over as you went through. It was that tight.
Okay, we're going to do a new poll. Here we go. All right, no, that's a Q&A. I screwed it up.
Oh, come on.
Here's a poll. Okay.
I'm going to vote.
Should Kent explore the cave from the descent? Yes, no, and turtle. If you know what that is, I think you'll know how I would prefer that you vote. I would vote. But I'm not going to tell you.
I put my face down and I started sliding through this mud, and slid about, scooted about 20 feet. Finally, you come out and you're in this huge room. And we spent the rest of the day with our flashlights going around exploring this gorgeous cave. That was the opening, that high and that wide. But then we had to, of course, slide back out to get out of the cave. And then later that day we went to the Hardee's restaurant or something. We're standing there with just mud, dried mud caked on both sides of us.
That's why you bring a change of clothes. Oh, and Vishanti says Kent should reenact Ted the Caver. Ooh, yeah. Vadim says that's one old B movie. It's not that old. Also, the first Descent was great. The sequel was left a lot to be desired, but I really like the first Descent film.
There's two PhDs standing here ordering a hamburger, and the lady's looking at us like, where'd you guys come from anyway? I thought, I wonder what's going through her mind right now. Just give me the hamburger, would you, lady?
He probably was thinking, when are you going to bring up dinosaurs?
Right? Aaron Wilson said, that's not mud. Yeah.
So, there are caves all over the world, is the point. There are probably within the crust of the earth, even under the ocean, caves, cavern systems.
Yeah, underwater caves are a thing. We'll take a drink. Ken got that right. Congrats, Ken. Trailmix says it's so old I've never heard of it. Okay, now I have to find out what year The Descent was released, because it's not that old. Okay, what is this? The Descent, Neil Marshall, John Harris...
2005.
2005. That's not that old.
About as old as this video.
And part 2 was in 2009. Don't watch Descent Part 2. I don't recommend it. Not very good. The first one, though, I really liked. I mean, look, it's a 7.2 on IMDb. Not bad.
That's higher than Tremor.
Yeah, well, Tremors is a better movie, but still. All right, here we go.
Most of this is probably left behind from the time of the flood, when the pre-flood caverns under the crust of the earth that used to hold all the water collapsed. Many of them would collapse, but not totally. There would be pockets of water trapped. There's possibly still interconnected, and there are springs of water shooting up in the sea.
Steve Bruno says that, and Vadim also says it's about 20 years old. Look, I've seen the demographics on my channel. I know most of you are like 30 to 40, so it's not that old. Too Young to Feel As Old has gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships, which means I'm going to have to open up another beer. So those went to Ernex404. Hold on, now it's scrolling past and I can't keep track. Let's see. Memento Mori Chung, Our Dying Sun, Less Than Lucid, and Luigi Potter. Welcome to the channel memberships, everybody, and I will take 5 drinks after I pour this next beer because I have like 1 or 2 drinks left in my old one. So there's no point in going for it and then stopping. So here we go. Here is a beer pour. Trying to get a nice, smooth beer pour with as little head as possible. Almost there. Whenever you pour beer into an existing beer, it's not going to be quite as good. But that's okay.
You can do it.
Yeah. All right, so let us take 5 drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 4, and 5. I didn't say all of you were between 30 and 40. I said that most of my audience, according to the demographics on YouTube, are between 30 and 40. So that some of you are not doesn't negate the fact that that's what my demographics are. Goodness. Okay, let's get back to Kent.
And that could be an entire study just on that topic. Okay, last thing we'll talk about before the break. In Job chapter 38, verse 19, God said, "Where is the way where light dwelleth?" That's an interesting passage because light doesn't stay in a place. It's in a way. It's always moving.
I don't even know what that means.
Nonsensical.
What was the verse that was?
I don't know.
let's back up a little bit.
You want to go check?
Yeah. Okay. Job 38:19. I want to get Job 38:19 in a not the King James. And I'll bet that Vishanti's off looking it up in Hebrew right now. Okay.
What is the way to the abode of light, and where does darkness reside?
What version is that?
That's the New International Version.
All right. Let's try. Sometimes I like the habits. It was 38:19. Where is the way to the dwelling of light, and where is the place of darkness? Yeah. So, let's try another one. What's not the Message? I'm not looking for the Message. Not even a translation. Let's see. There's too many English versions of the Bible. Oh, we could check the Catholic Bible. Let's see what the Catholics have. Where is the way to the dwelling of light, and where is the place of darkness? Literally the same as most of the. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say that, yeah, most likely that this is not what Kent is saying, where light doesn't have a place it stays, it has a way that it goes. Yeah, no. Every other translation of this that basically isn't the KJV seems to say, can you find the place where light lives, or the place where darkness lives? As if they did have those things, which they don't, which means if you want to take the Bible literally here, it's just wrong again. Now, Carrie Bronson, who's been a member for 25 months and is at the Amniel level, my goodness, that is a very long time and a relatively high tier. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Says AIG is a pure romance gift bag in phallic nature, in exploitative business model, in low quality of production, and in creepiness when involving kids. Yeah, goodness. Take a drink for that. I am seeing let 2 people haven't hit like at least. Come on, guys. Give me a hand here. Hit like. It helps.
For shame.
I know. How dare you?
Interesting passage because light doesn't stay in a place.
It does according to the Bible, apparently.
It's in a way. It's always moving. It was just this year that they figured out a way to slow light down.
Oh, and there's Vishanti having checked on the Hebrew because I was right. That's exactly where she went off to. And said darkness has a place according to the Hebrew. Yeah. Okay, and also technically, yeah, Fearmonger Official is right. That is a Trojan source. Yeah, the Bible being a Trojan source is not what I had on my bingo card today. Good job, Kent. Also, Dr. Tapioca Weasel has just gifted a Dapper Dinosaur membership, which went to Amber Colley. So we'll take a drink for that. Thank you very much. Oh, okay, darkness has a place according to Vishanti, and light has a way. Okay. Fair enough. So maybe it's not as much of Trojan source as I was thinking. Maybe it is.
I already drink for it.
Yeah, me too. I'm not going to revert.
Some professors at Harvard University, Dr. Howe, a Danish professor, slowed light down to 1 mile per hour.
Okay.
And last month, wasn't it, where those newspaper articles came out that said they've been able to speed light up to 300 times the speed of light.
No, they haven't.
What?
I'm taking a drink. That's impossible.
What is he talking about?
Yeah, I have no idea. You cannot go faster than the speed of light, especially if you're
Speed of light travels at the speed of light. It
Right.
doesn't vary.
Should Kent explore the cave from descent? 66% say yes. Turtle came in at 33%, and no one voted no. Kent, next time you go to spelunking,
no.
I want you to go to this cave from descent. And I'm sure you'll have a great time in there. Just don't end up wading through the poo water from the descent part 2. Do that. That was gross. I mean, it'll be gross anyway, but still. I should totally play bingo. Dr. Tapioca Weasel, I already have enough stuff to keep track of without playing the actual bingo game. Yeah.
We covered that on video number 7. We got all the documentation on that when you get into, because critics will say, if the stars are 10 billion light years away, the universe must be 10 billion years old.
Yeah, because that's called the distance triangle. You usually learn about it in, 5th grade or something in school, if you're American.
It's pretty early.
Yeah.
It's pretty early on.
Yeah, if you know the speed of something, and you know the distance of something, you can check to see how long it took to go from one place to the other. And yeah, so
Pretty simple math.
it really is.
Well, there's a lot of problems with a statement like that. You can't measure 10 billion light years away, first of all. You can only measure maybe 20 to 100 light years max. Secondly, we don't know that the
because
speed of...
only parallax is the only tool
Right.
that astronomers have ever discovered to use.
We're going to take a drink for
Nothing else.
not understanding that standard candles exist, which we'll go over a little bit. Okay, so the most direct way to measure a distance to a star, right, is stellar parallax. So what you do is you measure the location of the star in the sky at one point in Earth's orbit, and then you wait 6 months, and you do it again, which gives you the maximum distance that you can get to form the base of your triangle. And then you just use, the Pythagorean theorem to figure out how distant that star is. Well, okay, but that has a pretty limited range. However, certain phenomena in the sky have known very narrow ranges of brightness. So, for instance, certain kinds of variable stars vary between certain very well-constrained brightnesses. Supernovae of certain types have very, very, very well-defined brightnesses, right? So, like, I think it's 2A supernovae. They're the one where a neutron star accretes too much material and it goes over the Chandrasekhar limit, and then there's a supernova as a result. Is that 2A?
Yeah, I don't remember which types are which.
I think that's 2A. If it's not, I'm sure someone will correct me, right? Those have an absolute known brightness, that they're absolute brightness. So that if you were standing at a standardized distance, which I believe is usually a parsec, that's how bright it would be. You can use standard candles to measure distances to more distant things. And then on top of all that, we've noticed that redshift is directly proportional to distance, which means you can use redshift to then get even farther out in cases where you don't have standard candles. All of these things build on each other, and Kent not knowing about them doesn't mean that they don't exist or they don't work. Scoop do 3.
I don't know at this point, but now in real life, yeah, he's been told these things.
Oh, yeah.
Enough. At the point of the video, I'm not sure. I would assume so. He knows better.
Scoop 3 for $2 says increasing the speed of light, like in Futurama. Yeah, exactly.
No spoilers.
More reasons for Bent to watch Futurama.
No spoilers. I voted yes on that poll, so I'll watch it.
Okay.
Light's always been a constant. Matter of fact, we now know that it hasn't. It isn't a constant. The speed of light is variable.
No, we don't know that.
No.
That's just nonsense. Take a drink.
It's absurd. It's absurd and an outright lie.
Now, the effective wavefront velocity of light in different media changes, but that's not what we talk about when we're saying the speed of light. The speed of light, c, is constant.
And light always travels at c.
Yes. If you're measuring like the point-to-point speed of individual photons, it's always c. There are lower speeds that the total wavefront can move at, right? You're lower in certain media. But that's actually because photons traveling at the speed of light are actually interacting with things in the medium, just slowing it down effectively. The fearmonger official says, Rabbi Shmuel Pollen moment. Wait, does Shmuel Pollen claim to be a rabbi? I don't remember that. If he does, that's unfortunate for Jews everywhere. My apologies to the entire Jewish community if Shmuel Pollen is a rabbi. You deserve better. And to be fair, most of you have better. I can't imagine that most Jews who have a particular rabbi have one as bad as Shmuel Pollen.
Einstein's theory was the speed of light is constant and time changes. Maybe.
Okay. But Vishanti says that she's never been able to verify Shmuel Pollen's smicha, which means that, like, his authenticity as a rabbi is questionable. So, unless someone can actually verify that he's really a rabbi, I'm not going to call him a rabbi.
So, but maybe Albert was wrong. Maybe time is the constant and the speed of light changes. It appears right now that he was wrong, at least on that point. He's a brilliant man. I'm certainly not as smart as he is.
No,
Yeah.
he was right.
We'll just take a drink. Okay.
But certainly we know that the speed of light is not a constant. And the third point I make on the Starlight question
Why is he lying about that?
I think he's just dumb.
He's getting it backward, and it's annoying to me.
As Cargo Room says, well, I think the bar for being a better rabbi than Pollen is on the floor. Yeah, it's not hard to be a better rabbi than Shmuel Pollen, assuming he even is one.
God can make a full-grown man and a full-grown woman and a full-grown garden. He can make stars and light at the same time.
You know what? We're going to cover that next time. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to back this up a little bit. That way, when I start over for next time, we'll remember to talk about that. Because, boy, are there some philosophical problems with the whole phallist argument, which is what Kent is basically advocating here. And, I want to really talk about that. But we don't have time right now because we have to start wrapping things up. Because we've technically been live for just over 2 hours. So, Beth, do you have anything that you want to announce to people before we get out of here?
Sure. If you feel like supporting me, you can do that on my Patreon, which is linked in the description.
Yes, it is. What do people get for joining your Patreon?
If you join at the $1 level, you get all the music, which you can also get for free. That'll never change on the Google Drive, which is also linked in the description.
Earlier on Patreon, right?
You definitely get it earlier on Patreon, and you'll get like rough drafts and early cuts of the music. And I might even put like the MIDI file of when I'm composing up also, so you get the vision of the final song. Whereas the Google Drive will have the final version. It might have a rough draft here or there, but usually it's the final version once I record it. So, yeah.
Okay. All right, and you also have a wish list.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Okay.
Amazon wish list. You can support me that way if you would like.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right. Well, you guys know that I also have a wish list and a Patreon and obviously the memberships. I also have a Teespring store, all linked in the description. But also, let's take a look at what's coming up soon. So I believe tomorrow I'm going to be on Chesh's channel. I think that what we're doing is taking a look at the Bill Nye Ken Ham debate. We're doing that with Landon. I think I need to get more booze for that. Let's see. Dr. Tapioca Weasel has gifted 1 Dapper Dinosaur membership, and it went to Telku. Oops, I'm not really sure how to say your name. I'm very sorry. I'm not even sure what we're going for there, which would dramatically change how I'm supposed to pronounce all the vowels in your last name. But hey, we'll take a drink for it. Okay, let's see. On the 8th, Quantum Mud Fossil University Part 1 is coming up. Roger from Mud Fossil University is going to take on particle physics, quantum mechanics, and what the heck an electron is, and what the heck a photon is. And, oh boy, I will just remind you, this is the man who looked at a cave and was like, that's a vagina. Because he has an R onto it for some reason.
Well.
So, like...
sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah. Also, Strawberry Vein has just gifted Dapper Dinosaur membership and went to Dork of the Deaf, so we'll take a drink for that. Okay, yeah, so that's going to premiere on Thursday. That'll be at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Then, on the 10th, Saturday, I'm hoping to do a Dapper Reacts. It's been a while since we did a real Dapper Reacts. Hopefully we'll be back to it. Then, on the 13th, we should be doing Evil Kent Rise, Kent with Bent 11D3. And then on the 14th, it'll be my birthday, and I'm planning to stream similar to what I did for the 10,000 subscriber special. I'm thinking about actually continuing on that. What was it? It was a Hollow Knight gameplay. Yep. So hopefully I can actually beat Hollow Knight on stream. So between those 2 streams, you'll actually be able to see me. Hopefully, this is fingers crossed, go from starting the game to beating at least one of the final boss options. I don't plan on beating the Radiants on the 14th. So if you're hoping to see Dapper Dino beat the Radiants, I'm probably just going to beat the Hollow Knight. Get either like the Sealed Siblings or just this default ending. So yeah, don't expect to see me beat the Radiants. I do not have the ability to do that while streaming, most likely. At least, especially while like trying to debunk stuff live. But also, I will again be sending out links to people who've been on the channel as guests before. Come back and have fun with that. Then on Thursday, the 15th of June, we will be doing part 2 of Quantum Mud Fossil University. And then on the 17th, chances are we'll do another Dapper Reacts. I will be inviting Vishanti on for the 10th, and presumably the 17th if we do Dapper Reacts. But of course, whether or not she comes up is contingent on how things are going over there and whether or not she has other plans. So, no guarantees. Although she does owe us more feeders. So, yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Vice Rhino is a fan of Hollow Knight. In fact, he really liked my Hollow Knight fan art that I posted on Twitter a while back. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I probably should. Okay. Well, I think that's as far ahead as we're going to look, guys. Thank you very much. If you are a channel member or a patron and you have access to the Discord, hop over there because in a few minutes we're going to be starting Power Rangers Turbo, which is just great. It's just
so good.
Great. So Marion and the Night Owl says, you're going to be wearing your skin suit again for the birthday live stream? Yes, I do think I will be wearing my human suit again for the birthday live stream. So if you enjoy the human suit, come back on my birthday and I will probably be wearing it again. It's still going to be a pretty unusual thing that I go on camera like that, in part because it's a hassle to set up like the green screen and whatnot. So yeah, it's going to be unusual that I do that, but it won't be never. All right, well, thank you, everybody. I will hopefully see you all on Wednesday on Chester's channel, and failing that on Thursday here. And talk to you all later.
Bye.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Bob Knob, Bent Hovind, Tapioca Weasel, Denny5252, Elleron Teller, Phil Cavara, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostic Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babby, Monkey They Them, San, Sphincter of Doom, and the Venerable Bede. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.